There is a general consensus among educationists that one of the most important aims of education is the development of the creativity of students. However, in many cases, the educational institutions often turn into a hindrance in the process of creative development of the students. Now, why is this the case? This is something that we will briefly discuss in this presentation. First of all, let us have a look at a very useful quote by Jean Piaget, who is a Swiss psychologist and educationist. He says the principal goal of education in schools should be creating men and women who are capable of doing new things, not simply repeating what other generations have done. Men and women who are creative, inventive, and discoverers, who can be critical and who can verify and not just accept everything that they are offered to. Now, keeping in view this very useful insight regarding the essence of education, let us see what our schools or our educational institutions actually do. Do we generally have schools or educational institutions who that actually develop students as creative beings, as beings who are inventive, who ask questions, and who can work as discoverers and who can be critical thinkers? Or do we have schools where these essential aspects of the development of personality of young people are actually hampered or ignored? So, generally, why is it that there is this thinking that the process of education generally in educational institutions hinder the process of creativity? So when we look at the system has generally these three main components that ultimately lead to the fourth one, that is the outcome of education. So curriculum is the first element, and then the delivery of the curriculum, and the evaluation. And so generally all of these are aimed at certain outcomes or aims of the process of education. So first of all, the curriculum. So generally in most educational institutions, the curriculum is top down or centralized. The curriculum comes from some authorities or from government institutions or establishments, and the primary stakeholders, that is the students and the teachers and the society at large, they have little say in the process of curriculum development or in the process of thinking about the aims and objectives of the curriculum or the educational process. So this is the first thing that ultimately leads to the stagnation of the educational process, the top-down centralization of the curriculum part of the educational process. Then the delivery is actually the teaching learning process or the implementation of the curriculum. Here the main character or the main role is that of the teacher. Again, the teacher himself or herself, a kind of prisoner of the system. Here they play the role of a kind of the central role as a deliverer of the curriculum that has been decided on a higher level, and so their role here is just like a deliverer. So whatever the aims come, or whatever, even there is an increasing tendency that even the process of delivery or the how of the teaching is kind of no more in the hands of the teachers. And so the teachers are kind of become dependent on the system, and then the system below them, that is the students actually, or the society, are then totally dependent on them in terms of the process of teaching, or in terms of the delivery of the curriculum. And thirdly, the evaluation process. Again, this is a very central component of the education system. Generally, the whole educational process revolves around the evaluation system. So there is this particular phenomena called teaching to test. So most teachers, instead of focusing on the creative development or creativity or independent learning of the students, they are focused on preparing students for exams. And because the exams are memory focused rather than focused on measuring the intellectual abilities or the creativity of the students, so the evaluation process also plays a role in terms of hindering the creativity of not just the students, but also of the creative abilities of the teachers, and also the other educational stakeholders and the educational leaders who are involved in the whole process of curriculum development, delivery, and then evaluation. So you can say that there is a kind of vicious cycle where the evaluation has a washback effect on the process of delivery and the process of implementation of the curriculum, and the focus is on the memorization or retention of information rather than the creative abilities or the intellectual development of the students. The overall outcome of the system is that the creative abilities of the students that are dependent actually on their independence of thinking and actions inside and outside the educational institutions is something that is hindered, and overall the creativity of the students as well as the teachers and the other stakeholders in the education system, their creative abilities are generally hampered. So the whole system actually stands in the way of developing students as creative beings, as critical beings, as beings who can question and who can come up with their own independent thoughts. And so if we want our students to develop as creative beings, as original thinkers, and as independent learners, there is need for a change both at the curriculum development level, at the delivery level, and also in terms of the process of evaluation.